We all know kids who seem to have it all. They come from affluent families, they go to good schools, have good friends, and great grades. But a closer look may surprise.
Hello, today I present to you an extremely attractive application for music lovers. It's completely free. You can listen to music online or download unlimited music to use whenever you don't have internet. The powerful search function helps you find anything you want. Trust me. It's hard not to find what you're looking for because the search function is really powerful. Application download link is attached in the description of the video. I'm pretty sure you'll like it. Thanks.
Surprise you. Things aren't as good as they seem, as these students often struggle with the very real pressures of privilege. By most accounts, Mercer Island, Washington is an ideal place to raise a family. Yeah, it's expensive, but just about anywhere near Seattle is. But there are perks. The public schools, for example, are among the highest achieving in the state. These kids seem to have everything, including near-perfect grades.
A quarter of our class has GPAs over 3.9.
Over 3.9?
3.9. Mm-hmm.
It all sounds pretty good, right? These students are from the class of 2020. Thomas Lee, Zitong Wang, Megan Akakabal, and Joe Gormley. We talked with them in their last semester before heading off to college. And it was that last bit, college, that was first and foremost on their minds.
We all tell ourselves that our GPA doesn't define us, but it really does here.
The end goal isn't to learn, it's to get a number. It's just so.
How much of kind of what you guys have been working towards is about getting into a top school?
A lot of it.
All of it.
All of it.
With record low acceptance rates at top colleges, it's pretty well known that students feel pressure to outcompete each other. But what isn't widely known is the toll that pressure can take.
How do you see that manifest itself?
Physical tears and mental breakdowns from failure, what we consider failure, which is really nowhere near what other people would consider failure, and also the fear of failure.
It's not unexpected to see someone crying in the bathroom or coming to the lunch table and sobbing, and then, 5 minutes later, cleaning themselves up and going to class, pretending like it didn't happen.
A close friend of mine was struggling very, very badly and almost took his life in front of me.
That kind of mental anguish has stayed largely below the research radar. In fact, psychologist Sonia Luther, professor emerita at Columbia University, actually stumbled on those troubles. Back in the 90s, she was studying children struggling in low-income families, and she used as a control group students from more affluent schools, ones we generally think have it all. But they were suffering too.
What did you think was the cause?
At that point, I wasn't even sure it was a real thing.
So what do they all have in common?
Unfortunately, what they all have in common is this unrelenting, insidious pressure to achieve and do ever more. Not even succeed, but it's relentless. It's keep succeeding.
And the ripple effects of that unrelenting stress can be debilitating. Luther spent more than 2 decades studying the problem. She consistently found that students from affluent schools are suffering from higher rates of substance abuse, depression, and anxiety, as much as 3 times the national norm.
Nobody, including myself, could fathom that truly kids who are living lives of privilege in terms of the educational opportunities and homes they live in, neighborhoods and so on, that they really could be doing more poorly than the average American kid.
The Robert Wood Johnson Foundation now notes that excessive pressure to excel ranks right up there with poverty, trauma, and discrimination as factors hurting adolescent wellness.
To hear that our children that are in high-achieving schools and affluent communities have the same risks is really startling.
Liz Evans and John Martin are both parents on Mercer Island. Evans is also a pediatrician.
In our office, at least at Mercer Island Pediatrics, we feel like psychiatrists most of the time.
What kinds of things do you hear from students?
We have kids that cut out of stress. We have eating disorders. The younger children tend to have more somatic complaints, so tummy aches and headaches, and as they get older, it becomes more of the substance abuse and suicidality that becomes more of a concern.
As for Martin, well, He's voiced his concerns enough about the privileged at risk to know what you're probably thinking right about now.
So it sounds a little whiny. We start talking about affluence and, these poor rich kids, and they're depressed and they're anxious and wah, right? Too bad for you, right? You make some good coin. You got resources. What's your problem, buddy? When it's your kid struggling, it becomes real.
But many parents, even teachers, aren't aware of just how much stress is hurting, because many teens don't talk about it to anyone.
You don't want to show that you're struggling. You don't want to show that waking up in the morning is an accomplishment for you. It's that it kind of strips you down.
When you have so much on your plate, but you have to prove you're capable, you can't show any signs of weakness or talk to the counselor and get help. When you're hiding it, it just becomes worse.
That lack of openness and communication is what Luther zeroed in on when she was asked to come to Mercer Island to help students cope with that pressure to succeed.
Have a conversation. And if your child does tell you, I'm overwhelmed, I'm so anxious, I can't sleep, I'm terrified, that's the time when you pull back. Ask your child.
She visited twice, once in 2006 and again in 2019. The data she gathered sparked a community conversation that's helped develop prevention and awareness programs, including reducing the stigma around mental health counseling.
When you realize your worries are also shared by the 360 something students in your class, you all of a sudden feel like it's not so bad.
Where's the pressure coming from, you think? Is it from parents? Is it from teachers? Is it pressure that you put on yourselves?
It's all three, I think.
It's like you were made to go on the path.
What's the answer? You think they've tried to de-emphasize sort of the importance of AP and honor courses? Is that
I think it's very difficult. It's really trying to change the culture, and it's been put into our minds when we were in kindergarten and first grade.
COVID, however, changed everyone's calculations about everything and sent students' stress levels on a whole new kind of roller coaster. Luther and her nonprofit research firm Authentic Connections surveyed 14,000 students just after the pandemic started last year, and what they found was a drop in the rates of serious depression and anxiety.
They're lower instead of higher.
Consistently lower. It's like a bunch of snow days that you got unexpectedly.
Our group of now socially distant students told us exactly that.
These past few months have honestly not been too bad.
We can deal with not having grades. We can deal with not putting our academics first, not going around the clock. We can live without school, but there are some things that we can't live without.
But the respite was short. Just a few months later, as schoolwork increased again, Luther found the levels of depression and anxiety shot right back up to pre-pandemic levels or worse.
You're already in a transition moment in life, trying to go to college, and all of a sudden there are so many more factors to consider. And it's not just deciding which college, it's deciding how you're going to do college.
We do expect a lot of our young people, but Sonia Luther's research has shown that as students head back to school this fall, many of them will be expecting even more of themselves. Now, that's admirable, indeed, as long as achievement isn't the only measure of a young person's worth.
I want to emphasize my message is not that kids should be told, don't work hard. Absolutely not, do work hard. There is a point where we value your sanity and your well-being, and we are not willing to let that be compromised.